6 in a car. We just sit in there like sardines and drive all the way out there, compete, turn around, come back.
You're listening to Beyond the Chutes is presented by Parasite Systems. I'm Doug Simcox, and we're rolling on with our Texas Swing 2025. And this is stop number 2 on our tour. Now, if you remember, our first stop was Weatherford, Texas, where we visited with 4-time world champion bull rider Glen Bird. And you can find his episodes out there on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you may listen. Hey, we're also on YouTube. His episodes are number 161 and number 162. And today, we're sitting down with the man who traveled with Glen and who's seen just about every mile marker on the Rodeo Road, Mr. Ronnie Williams. In this episode, part number 2, Ronnie talks about youth rodeo and the IFYR, the hard lessons of the old road, and what it really took to make rodeo your paycheck, not your pastime. And if you haven't heard it yet, be sure to check out episode number 164, Ronnie Williams, part number 1, called I Didn't Think You Could Get Hurt Riding a Bucking Horse. So settle in, because Ronnie doesn't just remember the history, he lived it. And as far as talent coming in, I know you're very, very involved with the IFYR, International Finals Youth Rodeo. And I know that went on a few months ago in July, down there in Shawnee. What was that, 26th year this year?
26 years, yes.
26 years. And you've been involved all the way through.
I was at the first one.
You was at the first
I was at the first one at a lot of things.
You were first IFR?
Yeah. Still hanging around.
Still hanging around.
Yeah.
They have the star above you when you were born or something?
I guess so.
What have you seen as far as talent coming in there? I know they're, you're not filling the fields necessarily like on bronc riding and that. A little bit light there. But are you seeing good?
Well, I've seen it. Here's the thing about the IFYR. And I'll tell anybody this. If you want to see where your kid is on talent, take them to the IFYR.
Yeah.
And if they can hang with those kids at the IFYR, they can go on from there and do well.
Yeah.
And the numbers are growing. There's more bronc riders and bull riders this year than they've been in several years. And then the barrack riders they had there were talented. I mean, these young guys coming up through high school, they're way advanced from what we ever was. Somebody's really doing a good job working with them. Mm-hmm. But these guys can go. There's a boy named Cass Lloyd that come out of Region 3 down here, and he's amazing. And he entered the novice deal there at Calgary and won a bunch there at Calgary, but he's a talent. You'll hear about him. Mm-hmm. And his daddy rode barrack horses, but they've been working with him, and he does well, and just amazing talent. But so these guys got a real opportunity to learn the trade or the event much better than we ever did.
And that goes beyond just skills, Ronnie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you had to take advantage of the opportunity of learning by trial and error back in my day. Just nod your head and hopefully you didn't get wiped out, and able to get on another one and watch guys. I'd watch other guys that rode barrack horses and kind of seen what they did, and then I might try it on a saddle horse when I got home or something to see if it worked. But just a different deal. These guys are doing a good job showing them how to do it. The schools they go to and the guys that are giving the instruction and stuff are doing a great job.
And the business of rodeo.
Oh yeah.
Logistics and sponsorships, the money that's available there now.
Yeah, a lot of opportunity. I look back, I mean, when I started going with Glen, I didn't know how to write a map. I mean, I never had to have a map. I always went with somebody that entered me and took me to the rodeo and stuff. So, I mean, and these guys, I mean, they're a lot sharper and they're more educated and their finances are a lot different. I mean, when I started, I asked Glen, I said, how much money do I need to go? And he'd kind of count the entry fee money, and 26 cents for gas back in those days, and kind of give me a amount to have, and so, but it made it a lot easier if you was able to go to the first one and win something.
Yeah.
So it was out of necessity. Because when I started rodeoing, it became a primary income.
So this was your job. I was going to ask that.
That was my job.
All the way through 83?
Yeah, I had other things that I did to generate money, but there was a lot of years there was a primary source of income. So,
Well, I was going to go back to, I think the contractors with these young kids have learned. They did just put them on whatever they wanted to try, and it just killed kids. It wrecked a whole 10 years there of kids being able to go to rodeos. They bred for it.
That's the biggest difference. When I was going, I was a test pilot. They wanted me to test them and see if they'd buck or not, and that's what I got on, and I did get on. Now they control it. They put them on the nicest kind of horses and let them get a feel for it and learn. Always had them in a good situation, never put them in a bad situation, and it really, creates confidence and advances their skills, and then they just take right on. And I think that's the best approach. But back in my day, it was trial and error. You learn. Mayhem, my boy, he wanted to get on some broncs and stuff, and so I was at a roping and Larry Mayhem was over, and I introduced my boy to Larry Mayhem. I said, Larry, he wants to ride broncs. You got any advice for him? He said, yeah. He looked at Riley. He said, you want to ride broncs? He said, yes, sir. He said, get on as many as you can get on.
Yeah.
And he did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the way we learned back in my day. And now these guys, they don't have to go through all them hard knocks like we did, and I think it's a good thing. They'll last a lot longer.
And this era that we're looking at, which to me is a super interesting era in the sport of rodeo, in the IRA, the 70s into the mid-80s, how many rodeos was you going to a year?
A year?
A year.
Me and Glenn, I think, if he told you in the interview, we went to 160-something rodeos one year. And, somebody asked me where we had been, I couldn't tell them. It was just a whirlwind. But if they had one, we was there. It didn't matter if we was leaving out at Weatherford at 12 o'clock and driving to California for a 2 o'clock performance the next day and go there and compete and turn around and come back home like it wasn't nothing. I'm thinking, this ain't right. And they'll all be 6 in a car. We just sit in there like sardines and drive all the way out there, compete, turn around, come back. One year, I guess it was early 70s, we started out at Pauls Valley, Oklahoma, and I was just a kid. And Glenn always made all the decisions, where we stop, meet, if we got a room or whatever, when we fill up with gas. And that car of his back in was a 1970 Catalina. It'd go 700 miles on tank gas.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so when you did pull in somewhere, you probably need to use the restroom and get you a snack, because it was another 700 miles. But anyway, so he'd always, made all the decisions and everything. So we started out at Pauls Valley on Thursday night. Jack Akins had the rodeo, and Hewlett Missildine was with me and Glenn, and this bull jerked Glenn down and knocked him out. And he's laid out in the arena. They wheeled that ambulance in there, and they opened it up, and load him up, and put him in that ambulance. And so I'm gathering up all his stuff, and so I'm getting everything gathered up and put in the car. So I'm gonna follow that ambulance out of there. And so the ambulance stops. Back door comes flying open, and Glenn comes out of there like a wild man. And so he ain't going no further in that ambulance. So he loads up. We load him up, and we're entered up in some rodeos. And so he kept asking me, if it was one time, it'd be 10,000 times if I got his bull rope and his shafts and rigging bag, and did I fold his rope up or roll it up or whatever, and I'd answer him, for first 300 times. Then I finally got where I wouldn't answer. But it was pretty good type situation, because I was the decision maker from then on. I picked the places we pulled in to eat. If we drove and got a little tired, I'd get a room, and then so we went to rodeo every night. We come from Poplar Bluff, Missouri to Dallas, got on a plane, flew to California, rode at California, and his wife's mother and daddy lived in California, so they met us at the rodeo, and Glen rode and stuff, and then we got on a plane, flew back to Dallas, and then I took him to Weatherford and delivered him, took his rigging bag out and his suitcase, and my car was parked there, and unloaded him and left him. And Judy, she called me about Tuesday, and she said, "Ronnie, is there anything wrong with Glen?" I said, "Yeah, maybe so." I said, "He got knocked out Thursday night over at Paul's Valley, and he's been kind of nutty ever since." I said, "But I got where I wouldn't even say anything to him. I wouldn't answer him. He kept asking me where all this stuff was and everything." She said, "And y'all went on to all them rodeos?" I said, "Yeah, he won every one of them." So I thought he was all right if he could win.
Yeah.
He never knew it. I mean, he to this day he don't know it. But it was a pretty neat time for me, because I made all the decisions. But he was right there in my pocket, boy. He depended on me. That's scary.
So if a guy was going to write a book about and tell some of the stories, traveling stories, let's say, anything come to mind, a chapter or two you guy might want to share?
Yeah, there's 50 chapters.
Yeah.
And there's some friends of mine that I call pals of Tales on the Rodeo Trail that would be real interesting to a lot of people. And it was quite an experience on how I experienced my travels on the rodeo trail. I look back at Butch Stewart, Glen Bird, Red Duffin, a bunch of them. They're all in my book. But I gotta wait and make sure.
Make sure.
Yeah. Some of them guys, they don't like to hear the truth, so I have to wait to make sure I reveal the truth.
So have you been? Did you always jot down notes as you was traveling, or is this coming from
it's all
memory?
in memory.
Yeah.
I got a real good memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite an experience on the old rodeo trail. Back in our day, we rodeo when it was good.
Yeah.
There wasn't one person I didn't know in the rodeo. And now there may be 3 that I know, so it's changed that much. And you see guys that really excelled in their events, and you appreciated them, and you became friends with them, and really admired what they could do and stuff, and stayed friends with a lot of them.
And how important was it to travel with the right cowboys?
It's everything. I mean, if a guy was asking me today, you want to get in there with the guys that can win, that have that winning attitude, and don't like losing, but have good attitudes, positive attitudes, and that's who you want to hang around and rodeo with, because they'll elevate you.
Mm-hmm.
A winner not going to elevate anybody. And the other thing that I think helps is competition, because that competition what elevates you to do better and put out the effort.
Mm-hmm. And was it unusual that you was hauling with a bull rider back in the day?
Well, yeah, but I mean, for him to pick me to go with him was special, because to get Glen Bird to even say hi to you would make your day, because he was that. I mean, he stood out. I mean, he just had that glare about him. I mean, and rode so good. Everybody watched Glen Bird. Even guys that worked other events, if he was up in the bull riding, they'd stay and watch him ride.
Yeah.
He was that good.
And seen pictures, and he described a bit of the style and where he picked up some of it. But that's what we hear over and over and over was his style.
Yeah.
Just how perfect he rode.
Yeah, he was, and the thing about it, he could just do things back then that nobody else could do. And the way he moved his feet, a lot of things that he did that these guys don't do. But I mean, he just get in there and out of there, and I mean, he just went at them and give 110% on every time he nodded his head, and was fearless. I mean, I knew them bulls. I'd study them. It never mattered to him. Whatever he got on, he just rode them. And that one year we went to 160 something rodeos. I can count on one hand the ones that throwed him off. Yeah. He was amazing, and that's a record they don't ever acknowledge, but it was true. I mean, and he was special.
Yeah, and is in the record books for 4 world titles in the bull riding.
Yeah. Yeah, they won't. I mean, you know, for him in his era, I mean, God Lord, he rode against some of the best.
And just to put it in perspective, he had 4 titles, one of the best, and here we are sitting with a fellow who's got 8 titles.
Well, I just out-rodeoed them. I said, there are a lot of them that could out-ride me, but they just couldn't out-rodeo me.
You was willing to do
I never
the
knew what a turnout was. I got on everything I drew, and they didn't have the system, you know, to let you know what you had. You had to show up and get on. And, you know, it was primary income for me. So, I mean, if I felt like I didn't put out the effort and try and win something, I mean, it put a hardship on my family. So it had that desire, and, man, we rodeoed. I rodeoed with Red Duffin after Glen quit, and went to a lot of rodeos, but no time did I ever rodeo as hard as I did when I rodeoed with Glen. If there was one going on, we was at it.
He would go.
Yeah.
He would go.
Yeah, and that's all he thought about, riding bulls, and that's all I thought about, riding bareback horses. So, I mean, it was it went by fast. I mean, we rodeoed in a whirlwind.
And you married Kelly while you were rodeoing?
No, my first wife was Patsy, and I was married to her 21 years and got a daughter that's 52 or 3 now. And she's a chief police at Richland Hills. And then we got divorced, and I married Mickey Shirley's daughter, his oldest daughter, Kelly, and then we had a boy, Riley, right. And he had some success. He competed in time events and won the average in the finals in the calf roping one year, and was amazing talent. And he's 31 now. And but yeah, he's a good cowboy and a lot of talent. He's
still going?
No. It don't even interest him.
Really?
Yeah, I think I burned him out when he was young, but a lot of talent. He had more talent than I ever thought about having.
Yeah.
But, you know, he tied calves in 7s and 6s, you know, and then just give it all up. And then was a real dominant team roper.
And the road was hard on him?
Oh, yeah. He couldn't stand that road.
Yeah.
If his daddy was on him, he'd probably still be going, but
yeah,
he didn't like that road. Then a lot of them didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I had guys that had way more talent than I did that would get in with me and Glenn, and they couldn't stay, boy. They couldn't wait to get home.
Yeah.
We just wounded them.
Yeah.
But, we went to a lot of rodeos. And Glenn wasn't easy to rodeo with. That somebody was tough.
What's that mean?
Well, he just set in his ways, and, you know, I mean, he'd already been a champion when I got in there with him, so he knew how he wanted to rodeo, and that's the way we rodeoed. And which, you know, he instilled a lot of them hard beliefs to me. So, I mean, I wouldn't take for it, but it could have been a little bit more easier back in those days.
Yeah.
Because it was all rodeo. I mean, it wasn't no, I mean, man.
All business.
Yeah. When you nod your head, a lot of times I'd be in the car waiting on him to throw his rigging bag in, and we had to haul ass to get to another one. And it was all out to get to it, to make them. And we didn't miss many.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was quite an experience.
So you competed up through 83, You went to the finals in '83, and then you just said, I'm
No,
done.
I broke my leg in
You broke your
'84.
leg. In '84.
In Topeka, Kansas. And that ended my career. Dr. Evans, that was a physician for the Dallas Cowboys, was my doctor for years. When they flew me from Topeka, Kansas to Baylor Hospital in Dallas, and he said, "That's it, you're done." I was done. I laid in a cast for 7 months, from my foot to my hip, and then I got where I needed to do something, so I went to judging rodeos, and actually Chuck Smith recommended it, but Jimmy Myers hired me to be a field rep.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was in 1984, and we had 156 rodeos, less than 1,000 members. And so I went all out. I went at that just like I did rodeoing. And within a matter of probably 10 years, we had 555 rodeos and over 3,000 members.
How'd you grow it?
Well, I've spent a lot of time with Chuck Smith, and he kind of indicated that we need to look and see where the activity was and try and pinpoint to see where we needed to grow and develop in different areas, and then kind of join hands with some activity that was in that area to make sure we had enough contestants to support rodeos and grow them through the affiliations. And that's how we got started with the affiliations.
Co-sections.
Co-sections, yeah. We affiliated with the Western group out there in California and Arizona and the Northwest. And then at one time, the strengths were in the West. We had about 52% of our membership from the West. And a lot of them Westerners come to our rodeos. That's where Johnny Mulock and most of them guys come from. Jim Erickson and Dave Erickson and Dave Clements, you remember him, Sam, that really rode good. Bobby Shaw, a bunch of them guys, high-level talent, but the affiliations grew that. And so, I mean, that's where we are today. I mean, but we was dominant in the West at one time, and then we used to have 50-something rodeos in Texas with Gerald Smith, and then we lost that participation, and we've never recovered from that. And they were really good rodeos, but those are the rodeos that me and Glenn went to.
Yeah.
We'd start out here and then end up way back east.
And that's what we noticed when we were looking through some of the earlier rodeo news. Was it was amazing how many rodeos were out west.
Yeah.
You know, we think of the IPRA as it's an eastern, Midwestern and Eastern.
It is today.
It is.
Northeast is the strongest region we have.
But you had Montana, you had Utah, you had Nevada.
Man, we went to them too. And great rodeo, Billings, them rodeos back in the day when we had about 5 contractors back there, and boy, they'd bring some stock to the finals. One of the rankest bucking I was ever on was Pat Burns' 40 sensuous woman, and I mean, she would cow kill you, and I had her for the last round one year to win the championship. Was 86 on her. It was one of the highlight rides of my life. She weighed about 1,400 pounds, and she was something.
Had you been on her before?
No, I'd never been on her before, and that was the first and last time I was ever on her. Didn't want to on her again.
Really?
But Pat Burns was telling me a story. He had a senior rodeo at Gillette, Wyoming, and Dennis Reiners had her in the bronc ride. And so he asked Pat Burns what 40 sensuous woman was, and he said, she's just a good one. And he rides her about 5 jumps and jerks his wells from him and just slaps him. And he comes, I thought you said she was good. He said, she is for 40 and under. She was a great horse. Did you ever get on any of Pat's horses?
No.
You didn't? No. Man, he had some great horses and good rodeos. We won't go to all them rodeos back there. But I had him and Pat Burns, and that boy that's riding real good now, Dale Small, had rodeos.
Yeah.
Shaw had rodeos back there. Man, there's some good rodeos.
And what happened? Just over the years, those contractors went away?
Yeah, then we had them sombrero rodeos where all them rodeos were approved back there, all them Oregon rodeos, Sisters, Klamath Falls, Redmond, all them rodeos were IRA approved or IPRA, and Mert Hunky had all them rodeos, and then he got cancer real bad and sold out to Browning, and then those rodeos that we had that were IPRA, I mean, Sisters, they'd have 50 bareback riders, and nobody had the same horse. Everybody got a fresh one. So if it's 50 bareback riders, it's 50 fresh horses.
And this is IPRA.
It was IPRA. It had 10 bucket shoes, and they'd all be full.
Up in Sisters, Oregon.
Yep.
And how do you draw that many IRA Cowboys up there?
Well, by then it was the affiliation, the IPRA and the NRA, but they chose to sanction all them rodeos IPRA. And then it cultivated well, that's where Clint Corey come from.
Right.
He come out of that. And Johnny Hammock, I mean, Dale rode broncs really good, but a lot of talent come out of there, and it all in the rough stock.
Yeah.
But which that's was back when we was strong. I mean, and could have a rodeo and have 20 or 30 bareback riders and 20 or 30 bronc riders and 50, 60, 70, 80 bull riders and stuff, and high level talent in it. I mean, the bottom end wasn't there. It's all middle or top, and these guys wouldn't know what to do to pull up, have 30 bareback riders at the rodeos. They say they want them, but I don't think they can do them.
Yeah.
They have hard enough time doing 10.
Yeah.
And there'll be 3 or 4 in there that you don't want to get on with 10 guys in it. So it's a a problem, and that needs to be looked at, see how you can improve it. And the other thing, these guys are a lot more sensitive than we were. They won't get on one or won't enter if there's one in there that's difficult.
The horses.
Horse, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they just won't enter. Used to, I mean, that's just part of it. Hopefully you could draw around them, but if you drew him, you tried to make the best out of a bad situation.
Yeah.
And I've been on a lot of them I didn't like, but sometimes it worked out in my favor.
Yeah. And marquee rodeos back in the day, you got to talk about Pontiac Silverdome. You were there.
Yeah.
I got pictures.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know.
I'm glad you brought it up. I didn't bring it up, but anyway, Pontiac was good to me. I know I won it twice, and I might have won it 3 times, but I placed there several times. But I won it one year there on a horse that was just outstanding, and biggest crowd I've ever competed under. It was like you just was in awe. Maybe kind of remind you of a real good dream. But Pontiac was good to me. And big arena, and that one year they said there's 60,000 people there, and I won it on a horse of J. Bar J that was outstanding, and so yeah, them are highlights to me to that rodeo, and it drew a lot of people that normally wouldn't go to IPRA rodeos because of it. But yeah, that was Bruce.
And man, when you think about that and who came up with that idea, and it was just a Sunday only rodeo, right?
Well, no, you had a deal where you could compete there, and then you qualified into the Sunday deal, which your top 15 got to buy into it, which made the Sunday performers really good watching.
Yeah.
But the time eventers, they all competed prior to, and then the top 15 guys competed on Sunday, which could have been a disadvantage to them guys that entered prior to. But if you got a second or third run in the time events, it's probably an advantage, because there was a day there they didn't do nothing, and then they come back Sunday and compete on a one-day rodeo. But it'd be 60,000 people there.
Yeah. I've seen pictures.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. And Jerry Bellis, we had him on the show, and he talked about it. And
oh, yeah. We took it for granted back then, though, but that was a special rodeo. And huge arena, and, big numbers of contestants and stuff, and a performance you'd like to see.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of talent.
Yeah. And when you think of Bruce, and of course all the building rodeos, Cleveland and Columbus and Lexington, and on and on and on and on, and that just amazes me, Ronnie. It's, I think of the magnitude of doing one of those buildings just one time.
Yeah, he'd do 16.
Just amazing, week after week after
and I went to 2 of his rodeo management schools.
You did?
Oh yeah, it was a real special memory. I mean, I got to know Bruce real well at the end, and admired him in the beginning. When I first started going to rodeo, he was an announcer.
Yeah.
And a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing. But he announced all them rodeos, and him and Loretta, and them were great rodeos. But he was way before his time. He's a smart man, and things have changed. I mean, but the way he went at every one of them rodeos, he had a formula that he used, and he could meet those numbers. I mean, he knew how to get to the numbers he needed to meet and reach.
Yeah.
And those schools were something. I mean, you didn't really absorb everything there until later on, and it come to you. Yeah, and it was amazing. And then when I got in a management position with IPRA, I used him for advice on a lot of things. I mean, I talked to him nearly every week, and I really admired that guy.
And I may not put this in the show, but here's a question I've had just from a historical standpoint. The story goes that in the mid-'80s, early 83, 84, Vegas came to town and said, we are interested in your IFR being in Vegas. And they also went to the PRCA. Any knowledge of that?
I've never heard that story.
No?
Never did.
Okay.
I mean, it would have been probably something that of interest at that time, because, I mean, we was struggling with the finals. The finals was always a financial detriment. So it would have looked for a home at that time.
And Wendell shared, when we had him on, he shared that Bruce promoted those early finals, but then he's making too much money or whatever, and they shut him down.
Well, he did, but like used to in the early days, it seemed like whoever was president was a promoter. So whoever became Liesel back in the early days, the first finals, was the president. Tom Abshire promoted them, and then they finally got somebody in there that had the skills and the knowledge to promote them and get them where you could financially have them without just such a financial burden on the association. And Bruce done a good job for several years there, and then they got thinking he's making too much money.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
He had to deal with all that, and he didn't have time to deal with that kind of stuff. So, but he managed and promoted the finals until we left and went to Oklahoma City, and then he promoted that the first couple of years, and then couldn't do well with the all sports people, so they kind of parted ways. And that's really when I got involved with the production and management side of it.
So talk a little bit about that. You're a competitor. You're seeing it from the back of the chutes, from in front of the audience, all that sort of thing. What was it like to transition to the back, to the operations?
Why, absolutely, it's like a nightmare. I'd have dreams at night, just waking up in cold sweat about, things that I wasn't confident in a position that I was in, and learn just like I did riding bareback horses, trial and error. And over several years, I had notebooks full of notes. I mean, and I'd do my checklist, and really actually got pretty good at it. And we had some good finals back in the early years there in Oklahoma City. And then when we moved to the fairgrounds, with some good events. But yeah, it's tough doing all the planning, the promotion, the advertising, securing the sponsors, and whole 9 yards.
Working with the building and all that.
Yeah, a lot of personalities there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an undertaking. I'm glad that ain't on my plate no more.
Well, and
I wouldn't have no hair.
Yeah, and back to where, I mean, it gives a person an interesting perspective of Bruce Lehrke doing it 16 times.
Amazing.
Worried about he had a plan on how to get the dirt in the building.
Well, everything. I mean, from start to finish. Making sure all them things were there and done and pre-planned, and from things that you just take for granted, water hoses and loading chutes and scripts for the openings, and I mean, the people have put in place for that, and the timelines, everything. Yeah, it'll make you lose a lot of sleep worried about all that stuff. And then, people you have to deal with, a lot of them are hard to deal with on an individual basis anyhow. But yeah, it was quite an experience for a guy that didn't know much and kind of got thrown in there and had to learn on the fly. But if it hadn't been for Bruce, I could have never made it. And Sheila helped me a lot. I mean, she was a very helpful person. But yeah, I learned from Steve Gander. I mean, they were all good friends of mine, and I didn't mind asking them things and stuff. So
and they'd share.
I learned.
And they'd share?
Yeah, you bet. They open up to me.
And describe Bruce as you got to know him.
Well, he really, he had a real sense of humor. I'll tell you a funny story. We had an opportunity to take the finals to Macon, Georgia. And so, yeah, we set a meeting up there in Macon and had the governor of Georgia, the mayor, a lot of dignitaries. J.O. Cravens was the president back then, and so we had this meeting scheduled. And so Bruce was going to come and kind of present what he felt like that the IFYR could offer Macon, and then what Macon needed to offer them, and make sure that everything was understood and stuff like that. So he's running late. We got all these people in there, and they're waiting, and Bruce gets there. So he comes to the suite and knocks on the door, and I go around there and open the door, and he had these Bubba teeth in. And I've already painted a picture to these people that this guy walked on water. And he had a little old top just went about halfway down to his belly, and a coat that looked like it was way too small for him, and had this goofy looking hat on, and then Bubba teeth, and my heart just sunk in my belly. I'm thinking, what in the heck? So he comes in and he said, "And y'all don't want to have a rodeo? And y'all want to have a rodeo? Is that what y'all want to have?" And man, I ain't getting out there. These people? They just was in shock. They hear this guy that I built up. He could walk on water and stuff. And here he come in there like. Finally, he took them teeth out, and then we got the business. Yeah, he had a sense of humor now. This guy did.
Yeah.
But when it comes to business and promotion and planning and get the results, and them rodeos were first class. Nobody done the production that Bruce Lehrke did. And he had good people. He had Lenore Rowe and Bobby Rowe and Jerry Bellis, all the key people that you could get put together. But novelties. I mean, he hit every area you could hit to make money.
And tough to work for?
I don't know. I think he's demanding.
Yeah.
But you probably understood that he's the boss, and it was his way or no way. And if he wanted to ask you something, he'd ask you, but you didn't volunteer much around him.
Yeah.
But he was a good guy. I mean, a man of his word. He lived by that. But just way before his time, he's a high-end promoter.
Yeah.
He's the one that got Steve
Yeah.
to the level that he was, and Steve done well. I mean, he done good. But when you had both of them, it was something now.
And so Steve was fairly high in the ranks with Bruce?
Yeah, he had his own rodeos, World Toughest.
Yeah, right.
And Bruce had the Longhorn.
Oh, but Steve didn't work for Bruce or anything.
No, but he went to them schools. He
did.
He didn't know nothing about promoting rodeos until he went to them schools of Bruce's.
Really?
Yeah, I knew him when he first got started.
And
I knew the first rodeo he ever put on.
Where was that?
Des Moines, Iowa.
Des Moines.
In that little building at Des Moines. Thurl Ladding was the contractor, and Steve was just a big old grinning kid. And he was a promoter.
And IPRA at that time.
Yeah.
And he was World's Toughest was IPRA for quite a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, had all them big Madison Square Gardens and Chicago, Minneapolis. I mean, big crowds, great rodeos, and then you had Bruce's. You could make two of them building rodeos a week, and good
they
opportunity.
Complemented each other. They didn't compete against each other.
No. At one time they ended up being still good friends, but they kind of got differences, went their separate ways, and then Steve got out of the IPRA and got in the PRC, and done well. And I see him from time to time now. We've remained friends all these years.
Yeah.
He's a smart guy too, boy. Man alive. Smart guy.
Yeah. Who else? Let me think. Bobby Rowe.
Well, he's a rodeo cowboy and married to one of the greatest women in rodeo, Lenore Rowe. First time I ever seen her, I thought she was the prettiest thing I ever seen in my life. And she had just showmanship skills beyond anything I'd ever seen. But Bobby run a tight ship, run Longhorn Rodeo Company for years and years and years, and added a lot of class to it. And them rodeos were really, really good. And, he's a cowboy, and I always got along with Bobby good, and some people didn't, but he demanded, and required high level efficiency and demanded it. And he knew what he wanted, and he delivered on it.
Now, I got a question. Do you know where Bobby Rowe grew up?
Man, I don't know.
Well,
somewhere in Florida.
Nope.
New York?
30 miles from me. He didn't admit it to nobody ever.
Well, that probably come out in him a lot.
Yeah, he's about 30 miles. And I knew he was from New York, when we was going to those Longhorn rodeos, but he wouldn't talk about it or nothing. But one day I was out there working, and I went by a road up in that town, and it said Rowe Road. And so the next Longhorn rodeo I went to, I said, "Hey, Bobby, I went by Rowe Road the other day. Did you live on that road?" And, he'd get,
yeah, he could do it. But I always thought a lot of him. And, them rodeos were good. And they'd just run off 2 hours every performance, and no glitches. And, they were good rodeos.
And took them for granted.
We did.
Yeah.
We thought they was there for a lifetime,
They were here a long time.
Yeah. And boy, them opening, them center alley gates would fly open, and here they come all costumed up, and it started, man. And the music, everything was just, had a big orchestra, and old John Shadler was a main guy, and for years and years. I mean, them rodeos are something now. Liesel back in the early days.
Yeah.
Nobody could entertain better. And I'd go back to Liesel and George Taylor and Big Balls in Cowtown. It didn't matter. I'd watch it 100 times and laugh every time. They were amazing.
And that gave Liesel quite a platform, right?
Oh, absolutely. And, he built his own platform, but he was amazing. He could work a crowd. He didn't have no headset or nothing. It was just all live.
Yeah.
And then, him and Bellis, they was a team. But I remember back when him and Bruce, and it was something now. And he was something. He's the best rodeo entertainer I ever seen.
Yeah.
And, he studied it and got good at it. Everything he done was good. A lot of relationships back in the day. But we had a lot of talented people. D.C. Coburn and, Lisa was the best. But, George Taylor and, man, there's a lot of talented people. Lenore Rowe, good gosh. Just beautiful woman and showmanship to the highest level.
What else you got in your book, Ronnie?
Well, I'm gonna let it come out, and I'll let you thumb through it.
I mean, on
here?
your notes. You got anything we haven't covered?
No, we touched it. I was going to tell you about when I began to be general manager of the IPRA, and from 2000 to 2003, and then left, and then come back in 2010. I've been working with them ever since.
All the way through.
So I'm still actively involved with contractors and committees, and participate at the IFYR. And,
so you're still out on the road? You're still out hustling for the IRA?
Yeah,
IPRA?
I still have to travel, not near like I used to, but do a lot by phone and messaging and things like that. But yeah, I'm still out there going. That road's tough. It ain't as easy as it used to be.
Yeah.
Takes a day or two to recover.
So let me ask a couple questions. Fun questions, I hope. If you could go back and sit down with 19-year-old Ronnie Williams and give him some advice, what would it be?
Well, 19-year-old Ronnie Williams, man, there's a lot of growing to do back in them days. I tell you what, he's pretty bronky. So I would have took a different approach and, had a different... Back then, I thought about one thing, and that's riding bucking horses. Nothing else mattered to me. And I began a whole different outlook and kind of had a wider picture of rodeo. And all facets of rodeo is important. They all got to complement each other.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have took that into my early years, because I'd have had a different feel for rodeo and respect for what all it takes to put on a rodeo. And then I've said this too. I think I would have, if there was a way of doing it and doing a good job and having experience in all events like I do now, but I didn't then, I think it would help a guy to be able to really understand what it takes to put a rodeo on, officiate them, and what all that takes, and what they have to go through, and you'd have a different understanding and outlook on what a judge or an official and his responsibilities of a rodeo. And I think that'd make a better cowboy out of you. Mm-hmm. I think it would make you have a different outlook on things. I know it would have me.
Would have still rode hard?
Yeah, still rode hard, because you know that in order to make that decision that that's your primary income, you had to let it all hang out there and try and win as much as you could every time you nod your head. But I just think you appreciate what all working parts are to put on a rodeo. I learned a lot. Glen opened a lot of doors for me that I didn't have to open, that were just kind of thrown open because of him and the respect he had. So my introduction to judges, secretaries, contractors, and things, were through him, and then established a relationship. But you got to get along with, in order to make it in this business, you got to get along with all those entities, and that's very important. I didn't think you needed that at one time. I thought my riding would speak for itself, and I learned that you can ride as good as you they got to want to see you win, and so you better make sure you adjust to that side of it too.
So the relationship side?
Well, just attitudes. I mean, you know, if you got a guy with a bad attitude, and you're probably not going to be real kind to him on the pencil. So I mean,
I see.
A lot of that went on back in my day. I don't know if Sam ever experienced any of that.
Oh, no, never.
They used to do a lot of prejudging, I think, you know, and if they wanted to see you win, it was a lot easier for you to win.
Yeah. Another question. If you could go back in time, or let me rephrase this. If you could pick anyone to sit down with in the sport of rodeo, dead or alive, who would it be? And what would you talk about? What would you ask them?
Well, here's my honest opinion on that. I mean, it depends on what I wanted to talk about and what areas of rodeo you want to talk about. Ben Jordan, I miss him. I used to talk to him 2 or 3 times a year, and I'd call him and I'd say, "Hey Ben, this is Ronnie Williams from Texas. You remember me?" "Oh yeah, Ronnie, I tried to forget you, but I just can't forget you." But I love Ben Jordan, and I miss them opportunities to call and talk to him. And then now Benny's gone. He's another one of them guys that we'd talk 2 or 3 times a year, but it was a valuable conversation that, you know, it just, you could be yourself and he was his self, and that bond was there no matter what. And so I miss that. But I mean, on the management side, I mean, there's times that I would like to have had deeper conversations with people like Bruce Lehrke and really get into his mind about things and stuff, and where the rodeo is going and how it needed to go to get there. And you know, I still have ideas about ways to improve the IRA. That's my life. I don't know anything about any other association other than, you know, I respect the PRC and what they're doing. I think they really have improved and made it where these guys can make a good living. And I want to see the same thing in the IPRA. And I like it when them guys can come to the finals and win them 20+ thousand, and maybe see it where it does much better than that. But there's a lot of rodeo knowledge out there, and I've been involved in it and shared some of it, and I think it's really made me the man I am today.
And next generation of leadership, what are you seeing in the IPRA?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I'm a little discouraged. I mean, we're having a problem filling the bareback riding directorship right now, and boy, I just don't know of anybody that can really take it on. That boy that we got now, he does a good job managing and putting the selection together for the IFYR, and you know, when we have our selection, he does a good job representing and having a good list of stuff to come there, and he does, you know, a good job. He's really wanting to give it up. I don't know of anybody that can take it, and that's a thankless position. Everybody thinks they have one that needs to be there, and when they don't get there, they blame it on somebody. But you know, I don't know. There'll be somebody fill them shoes, but I don't really know of anybody.
So what's the value to a young person to do it? What's
well, there's other than he wants to, he got to come in there with a mindset of making a difference and improving the sport and the event, try and increase the numbers, get a bigger pool to draw from, and then make sure they get on things that they have an opportunity to win something on. That's what I would look at, and that's what I would strive to do to improve the event.
Okay. Last question. Your book gets published. It goes #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Hollywood comes calling and says, "We like your story. We like this. We heard this podcast where you shared your whole story. We're gonna do a movie." #1, what do they call it? And #2, who plays you?
Boy, I don't know. That's a scary thought. They don't want. to have two of me. I can promise you that. So I don't know who would play that, but they would be some interesting views and stories in there that they could probably make a movie out of. I mean, it's amazing I'm still with y'all. I can guarantee you, God had his hand on me, or I wouldn't be here with a lot of them things that I experienced in my rodeo days.
So the name of the movie?
I don't know. It might be Terror. I don't know.
Terror. So
no,
what?
I wouldn't take from my days, but it was quite an experience.
So what haven't I asked you?
I don't know. What do you think, Sam?
He's pretty thorough, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's thorough.
He made me talk about things I hadn't even thought about for years.
Yeah.
No, I was very fortunate, man. To be able to start my career, in the beginning with a guy like Mickey Shirley, was a tough man and worked all events and, was fearless and, didn't have any sympathy for weakness, demanded strength. And then to go from there to a guy like Glen Bird that had already won championships and had that air about him and respect and, just a class guy, and then go from him to Red Duff, and there was a multi-time world champion and tough Cowboy. And went to, nobody could get you to as many in rodeo for less as he could, and we got to a lot of rodeos, and didn't matter what situation happened, we didn't have no breakdowns that we couldn't make it to a rodeo. He could always get us running and get us to them. And boy, we had some guys in there that could big time rodeo, and we always challenged each other. So it made that group, when they pulled up, you knew they was there for one thing, and that's to win as much as they could win.
And do you have one of the stories where you got to use your Golden Gloves boxing skills? Just one story, Ronnie.
Oh man, there's things I'm not proud of, and that's part of it. But yeah, I batted some guys around that I wished I could have took back. I never had a situation where I couldn't have walked away from it without having to get into a boxing match with them. My deals didn't last very long. I was pretty well equipped to where I could take them out pretty fast if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So, but that part of my life I'm not real proud of.
So maybe that's the name of the movie. I kind of like this. Pretty well equipped.
Yeah, didn't fare much back in them days.
Well, thank you for being on the show. This has been a hoot.
Hey, I enjoyed it, and I appreciate y'all coming.
Now that's episode 2 with Ronnie Williams, a man who didn't just ride through rodeo history, he helped build it. From the youth coming up today to the hard miles of the old Rodeo Road, Ronnie reminds us that talent matters, but grit, relationships, and showing up every time matter more. That wraps up our visit with Ronnie Williams, and if you missed it, be sure to check out his first episode, number 164. And thanks for riding with us on our Texas Swing 2025. More conversations will be coming from that tour. And for today, this is Beyond the Chutes as presented by Parasite Systems. We'll see you down the road. You've been listening to Beyond the Chutes as presented by Parasite System, helping vets help pets. Before we wrap up, we've got something for all you Rodeo Road warriors out there. A good friend of ours, Mr. Stan Cromlish, has just a thing to make those long hauls a little smoother.
Hey, Rodeo Road Warriors! Stan Cromlish here from the Wandering Gypsy RV Life Podcast. Ever had a trip go sideways, faster than a bronc out of the chute? Grab my book, Rolling Smooth, How to Enjoy the RV Life Without Losing Your Cool. Packed with real RV stories, hard-won lessons, and a few laughs at my expense. Listen on Audible. Snag a copy at WanderingGypsyRVLife.com and catch the Wandering Gypsy RV Life podcast for more wild tales from the road. Don't just ride, roll smooth.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Simcox & Company. 4 barbers, 4 generations strong, Deb, Tom, Eli, and Troy, keep the tradition alive. No appointment needed, just walk in, share some good conversation, and leave looking sharp. It's also brought to you by Nikki McLeod, whose albums Prepaid and Some Kind of Reckless are available now wherever you find your music. And I've been reading Steve Gander's new book, World's Toughest Rodeo, where an Iowa farm boy takes his Midwestern life lessons to rodeo. It's a fast-moving, page-turning ride through the grit and glory of the arena. It's out now on Amazon. And don't forget Liesl Harris's This Ain't My First Rodeo, available now on Amazon. The story of the legend told the way only Liesl could tell it. This has been a BTC production. Until next time, thank you for listening.